Intro. Before the video starts, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to receive the latest updates on future videos. Episode 1. The story begins with a young man named Park Mujin, who is currently being cornered by a group of thugs. Nevertheless, his attackers are swiftly crushed to death all of a sudden, allowing him to return to his job, preparing for the upcoming God of High School Martial Arts tournament. On the other hand, is Jean Mori, who is heading to this very tournament after being invited. On the way, he encounters a thief on a motorcycle, teaming up with other fellow competitors, Yumira and Han Daewoo. Regardless, they catch the thief and hurry up to the tournament. There, they are injected with nanomachines to track their vitals and heal their injuries. And so, the tournament begins. The announcer reveals that the first round is a free-for-all mass fight. As chaos ensues, a convict named Kong also arrives, still handcuffed. Despite his disadvantage, he embarrasses Mira and steals her sword. But Mori intervenes, using his insane speed to inflict damage on his foe. Episode 2. Nevertheless, the fight is stopped when Mira snaps Mori's neck, thinking he stole her prized sword, which she received from her late father. As such, the round concludes and the trio heads home. On the way, they share their reason for entering. The next day, all three of them emerge victorious from their battles. In addition, Kong fights Gamdo, using North-style Taekwondo to humiliate his foe. Seeing Gamdo beg for mercy, Mori jumps in to rescue him. This enrages Kong, who decides to fight Mori but ultimately gets knocked, waking up to find himself in Mujin's constraints. Moreover, Mujin also orders Mori's punishment. Episode 3. As a result, Mori now faces disqualification. However, by a stroke of luck, he is spared thanks to his grandfather's reputation, Jin Taijin, a renowned master. But only on one condition, that is, he defeats one of the commissioners. But that's not all. Mujin also gives Mori a special peach, upon eating which Mori begins to vomit blood. Meanwhile, Daewoo is now confronted by Sungchul. Although badly injured, he comes out on top. On the other hand, Mori barely makes it to his fight and now faces a commissioner. It is decided that Mori wins if the commissioner falls to the ground. Although his foe mocks him, Mori can do this on his first try, revealing that he feels even stronger than before. Nonetheless, the commissioner is furious after his humiliation, beginning to use his special powers to kill his foe but is stopped by his peers. Episode 4. In the meantime, Mira, who is participating only to find a strong husband to pass down her sword techniques, is approached by Seongjin, a wealthy martial artist and businessman who wants to marry her. With this, Mira decides to drop out of the tournament and soon, they both decide to get married. However, Mori finds this all suspicious, thinking Seongjin has something else planned in mind. As such, he crashes the wedding. Not only that, he has information that Seongjin is a cult member, who is ordered to marry Mira to retrieve her sword style, rumored to be capable of defeating gods. Seongjin later confirms this and Mira breaks off the wedding. But Seongjin summons his powers, a samurai spirit, stealing Mira's sword from her. Despite this, she decides to re-enter the tournament, with her next opponent being Daewoo. Daewoo, who wants money to help with his friend's treatment finically, has learned his friend's health has deteriorated. Consequently, he is determined to win and senselessly beats the swordless Mira, vowing to defeat Mori in the finals as well. Episode 5. And so, the final has finally arrived and Daewoo is now facing Mori. As the fight begins, Mujin is seen watching them intently. Regardless, the duo clash repeatedly and Mori is able to bring his opponent to the ground. But at the last moment, he decides to not deliver the finishing blow and show his friend some mercy. But that is when Daewoo takes advantage of the kindness and delivers a strong attack, bringing Mori to his knees. However, as the countdown begins, Mira informs him that his friend has already been declared dead recently. Hearing this, he recalls all his memories with him, ultimately forfeiting the match. But, upon reading the last letter his friend wrote him, the ire within him rekindles and the duo start the fight anew. Episode 6. However, he is unable to defeat Mori. Regardless, he is the runner-up and Mira soon becomes the third-place holder after defeating her opponent. With this, the trio are the regional champions of Seoul and can now participate in the nationals. Later, Mira bumps into the announcer, who advises her about her swordsmanship. But after their talk, he is assassinated by a member of a cult called NOX. Meanwhile, Dewi is curious about the powers Mujin and the Commissioner use and asks Mujin about them. As such, he learns about Cheriok, people borrowing powers from gods, demons and heroes. Later on, he tells Mira and Mori about this power as well, making Mori ecstatic to confront even more powerful fighters. The next day, it is revealed that the announcer has been killed, seemingly along with one of the commissioners named Q. Episode 7. During the Nationals, Mori and his friends compete against the champions from North Chungcheong. Mori uses acupuncture techniques but ends up paralyzing himself and losing to his foe. Dewi faces Jin Pumguang, who uses his Cheriok to summon a giant hammer, but Dewi knocks him out. In addition, Mira also defeats her opponent, allowing the team to advance. Meanwhile, it is revealed that Q is alive. Drake, the assassin, boasts to Q about killing the announcer, and in response, Q uses Cheriok to cut off Drake's arms. Q almost kills Drake but is interrupted by two NOX assassins, who attack Q's home. Episode 8. Back in the present, the trio is soon faced with the South Giala team and Ilpio's, whose jacket is the same as Taejin's military uniform. Ilpio tells Mori that Taejin gave him a training manual written by Ilpio's deceased grandfather, which inspired him after his father died and his mother abandoned him. On the other hand, Q learns that the announcer, Bangsa, and his family are alive. In addition, Dewi convinces Q to train him in Cheriok. The commissioners are permitted to use their Cheriok's full power to stop NOX. Moreover, Mori becomes distraught learning that his grandfather is missing, but Dewi and Mira cheer him up by celebrating his birthday. Furthermore, Mori receives a map and a photo of Taejin, who is alive but missing an arm and imprisoned. Episode 9. As of now, the team is in a pinch. Dewi has been suspended for intervening in a match and they will only win if Mira and Mori both emerge victorious. However, Mori is missing. Nevertheless, Mira faces Lee Marin, who possesses her stolen sword. But Mira manages to retrieve the sword, learning it recognizes Marin as its true owner. Marin stabs Mira, claiming that she is too weak to wield the power to kill God. But Mira refuses to give up and gains the Cheriok Lu Bu Fengxian, granting her true ownership of the Fengxian sword, ultimately defeating her foe. Meanwhile, Mori follows a map to Taejin, but the culprit, Fei Long, appears, using Cheriok Doppelganger to create clones. Mori is overwhelmed by the clones until Long reveals that Marin and his team are dead and replaced by NOX cultists disguised using Doppelganger. Enraged, Mori uses an acupuncture technique to make himself temporarily immune to pain. Suddenly, Mori appears and easily defeats the second NOX imposter. Episode 10. Later on, Mujin informs Mori and his friends that NOX plans to kill all other gods and Cheriok users, as they worship only one god, and tells Mori he is too weak to help Taejin, but if he wins the tournament, he will give him valuable information. While Dewi wins his semi-final match, Mori struggles against Ilpio but begins to overcome his weaknesses by copying the fighting styles of Mira and Dewi. Ilpio remembers his promise to Taejin and helps Mori grow as a fighter, awakening a new power from his Cheriok, Nine-Tails Guardian. Meanwhile, Mujin confronts a NOX member, Sang Mandiok, who summons his god. But Mujin is able to overcome his foe. Episode 11. It is revealed that God betrayed the Nine-Tailed Guardian thousands of years ago, resulting in him destroying half of heaven before fleeing to Earth. As a result, Cheriok users are afraid of the Nine-Tails, except for Mori, who is excited by its awakening. Although he almost loses the bout, the sudden surge of power enables him to overwhelm his foe. Later on, Mori visits Ilpio in the hospital and tells him that his grandpa is still missing. In another part of the hospital, John Jugok gains a new Cheriok from Mandiok, Greed, which allows him to absorb others' strength. Hence, he attacks Take but ends up getting bitten in half. Meanwhile, Mandiok opens his god summoning portal again, allowing an army of creatures to appear. Seeing this, Mujin declares the God of High School tournament officially over. Episode 12. Mandiok summons God in an attempt to destroy the world. The United States becomes aware of the situation and launches nuclear missiles at Seoul to stop the bold God, disregarding the countless lives that will be lost. Meanwhile, Take and Ilpio continue their fight, with Take revealing his true form and consuming Ilpio. As all hell breaks loose, members of the Six, Servants of God, and Jean Mori all try to seize the key, but Park Mujin teleports the fighters to a spirit realm to protect them. John Jae-san also teleports all the citizens of Seoul to a cliffside outside the city to witness the destruction of the god by his transmutation magic. In the end, Taek manages to steal and consume the key, ascending to a new level of power. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And remember, if you want to see more awesome content like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay tuned for our next adventure, and until then, take care and keep exploring.